Hello everyone, welcome back to MLS Moves. Please make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Guys, we are the fastest growing MLS account on YouTube thanks to your support and dedication to helping this channel grow. Our next goal is to hit 3,000 subscribers by the end of March, and with the support that you've shown us and great feedback we've received, I think we can do it. So here are some players who I believe were destined for MLS but never ended up coming over. At number 5, we have Iker Casillas, a World Cup winning goalkeeper for the Spanish national team, a Real Madrid legend, what some people would consider the best goalkeeper of all time. I personally think it's Buffon, but he is considered one of the best goalkeepers of all time, definitely top 5. There were a couple of teams in MLS rumored to sign the Spanish international goalkeeper back in 2015, more specifically the Seattle Sounders, but the Spanish goalkeeper ended up signing with Porto. Now, the rumors were a little bit so-so because Seattle Sounders were good in goal because they had Stefan Fry, who they've had for over a decade now, and at that point for a couple years. But it was interesting to see a player of Casillas' pedigree be rumored with an MLS club, and it looked like something that definitely can happen. I think another club that was more specifically linked with him was the Chicago Fire, but back at that time, MLS didn't really have as many rules or mechanisms, and TAM was relatively new. So in order for a club to sign him at that time, he would have had to have been a designated player, and that's just very uncommon in MLS to be signed as a designated player goalkeeper. The last designated player goalkeeper to be signed in MLS was Tim Howard, who was signed in 2016. So it's just not a very common thing. And while I would have loved to have seen Iker Casillas come to MLS, and it looked like it was a chance to happen back in 2015, it was always an uphill battle just because of how MLS goalkeepers aren't normally paid that much money. At number 4, we have Xavi. Xavi is the best midfielder of all time, in my opinion. Now I know people will say Iniesta is up there with him, and it is close. And, you know, obviously Barcelona had the best midfield in history, but I'll take Xavi over anyone else, including Sergio Busquets and Andres Iniesta. He was rumored to go to New York City FC because of the ties with Ferran Soriano, who was the vice president at Barcelona at the same time when Xavi was playing there, and he was looking to recruit the Spanish midfielder to join him at New York City FC in their inaugural season, and also join his Spanish international teammate David Villa with the New York franchise. He ultimately chose to go to Qatar instead, and New York City signed Andrea Pirlo, which was kind of a disaster in all honesty. Xavi looked like he was also destined to come to MLS. There was rumors for almost a year and a half about him coming back and forth. Would he, won't he? Was he going to stay at Barca for another year? Is he ready to leave? And at the time in 2015, when he was rumored to sign with New York City FC, he was only 35 years old and still had plenty to give. He ended up playing for the Qatarian club, Al Sadd, for 3 seasons after he had signed with them, and then ended up coaching them. But this would have been another great player to bring to MLS, and I think even New York City FC were willing to make Xavi the highest paid player in MLS at the time with an offer of close to $8 million a year. Xavi is a player that I would have loved to see come to MLS, and at one point it seemed like it was a definite possibility and very likely he would come. But this is sadly one other great player that we will never see play in Major League Soccer. But we could see him coach in MLS one day, and I think that if things were to fall apart in Inter Miami, Xavi could very well be coaching his former teammates in Messi, Alba, Suarez, and Busquets in Inter Miami. At number 3, we have Mesut Ozil. Ozil was rumored to come to MLS and sign with DC United back in 2018. They wanted him to replace Wayne Rooney, who had just left and went to Derby County after a successful year-and-a-half stint with DC United. Ozil would have been an interesting player who had pretty much had an up-and-down career at Madrid and then moved to Arsenal and had a great season his first year in 2013 and 2014. But after that, injuries kind of plagued him, and he was up and down in his career after that. I think this would have been another good player for MLS to sign. Not nearly the name recognition that some of these other players on this list has, but a very good player when healthy and a player that won the World Cup with Germany in 2014. He looked like a player that was all but certain to come to MLS and sign with DC United. And I don't know if he necessarily would move the needle for the fans, but I do think that he would have helped the on-field product and he is a big enough name to give a slight buzz to the league, I would say, even if it's in the short term. This is a player I would have loved to see come to MLS, and I'm very surprised that it never ended up happening, especially with DC United reportedly willing to offer him a very hefty payday that would have made him a top 3 paid player in MLS. At number 2, we have the Brazilian legend Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho is one of the most technically sound players of all time. Now, some people will debate where he ranks in the Brazilian top 5 list, and I've even had this discussion with my good friend, Tactical Manager, about where he would place him on the greatness list. I personally would have Ronaldinho at number 2, only behind the great striker Pelé. Ronaldinho is a player that exemplifies everything the MLS would want in a global star. He has a great personality. His on-field presence is something you can't miss. And obviously there's some question marks about off-the-field issues, but I think having players around him and training and seeing the way he carries himself and just being exposed to that level of talent would have been great for the league. And I thought it was something that could have happened back in 2011, possibly with the LA Galaxy or the New York Red Bulls. And it's a signing that never happened, as he went back to his home country and signed with Flamengo instead. He had a couple other stints in Brazil afterwards, but the one that stood out to me was when he signed with Qatario of Liga MX. I thought for sure that if you told me that Ronaldinho was going to sign with a North American club, it definitely would have been an MLS club, not a Liga MX club. This is a player that I think that MLS really missed out on, and all the signs were there that this would have been a match made in heaven for the Brazilian number 10 and an MLS club. Very disappointed that it never happened, and I think it would have been good for the league. It's just another missed opportunity and something that never happened. Now, I do have one honorable mention before I get to my number 1. Now, I'm not saying this signing won't happen for sure. It's kind of like 50-50 at this point, but I think there's a lot of signs there that this signing won't ever happen, and that's another Brazilian star in Neymar. Neymar just recently signed with Saudi club Al Hilal, and on top of that, he just had a serious knee injury. So it kind of complicates things on his timeline of where he'll play next, especially if he continues to play in the Saudi League for a couple more seasons. There's also been a storyline about him wanting to come back to Santos, play for them, and have his jersey retired with the Brazilian club. Now, there are several clubs in MLS that would love to have Neymar. Obviously, both New York-based clubs, Orlando City, LA teams, Miami. I mean, if we're being honest, I don't know if there's a team in MLS that wouldn't want Neymar to sign with them. But the longer it draws out, especially with MLS missing out on signing the Brazilian star this past summer when he was made available, and they could have capitalized on not just the Messi mania, but bringing over Neymar as well, I think it becomes less and less likely with each passing year. Now, I could be surprised and it could happen, it's to be determined, but I wouldn't bank on it. I think when Neymar finally leaves the Saudi League, he is all but destined to go back to Brazil. And at number 1, I bet you guys could guess this one. I have Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the best wingers of all time. A lot of people debate if he is actually better than Leo Messi. I don't agree with that. I think that Messi is better, but there is no denying that Ronaldo is a top 3 player of all time and would have been a great signing for Major League Soccer. Cristiano Ronaldo looked like he was destined to sign with the LA Galaxy at some point in his career, but time passed and that never had happened. Then there was the possibility of him possibly signing with LAFC, maybe Inter Miami several years ago, or even before he signed with the Saudi club Al Nassr. He was rumored to possibly go into Sporting KC. Now that one I find a little far-fetched. I don't know if that was ever going to happen. But nonetheless, I think most people would agree that Cristiano Ronaldo looked like he would have been the perfect signing for MLS. He's very marketable, big personality, being fluent in English would have been very attractive for his marketability. I feel like this will be one of the biggest misses in MLS history when it comes to players that they could have brought to the league, especially if they had brought him at the same time with Messi. This would have been replication of El Clasico, having the 2 biggest stars in the world play against each other in the same league. This would have been great and exciting for the fans to watch. Now, there is a rumor also, too, about a certain scandal involving Cristiano Ronaldo several years back, and that's maybe a reason he didn't come to the United States. I can neither confirm nor deny if that's the actual reason why he's not here, but it's something to keep in mind when we're talking about why Ronaldo never came. Even though I don't always appreciate some of his on-field antics, it would have been nice to see the former Madrid star in MLS. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down in the comment section, who are some players that you're surprised never came to MLS? What do you think about my list? Is there any players on this list that you think never had a chance of coming to MLS, or do you agree with my list? Make sure you like this video down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video, and until next time, I will see you all soon.